How do you advise companies to cope with modern communication?
I think the thing to remember is the principles of communication haven't changed. And I don't think there's anything inherent in technology that makes good communication easier. It can make it better, but there are also many ways that it could make it worse. So I think there's four things that you need to remember. The first thing is that you've got to remember people have limited attention, if you like, limited bandwidth, which puts the onus on you as the communicator to think hard about what it is exactly you're trying to communicate and make sure that you get it down as succinctly as possible. Second point is recognise that communication is about meaning. It's not about dumping vast amounts of data on people and expecting them to deal with something. Now, I went to a presentation once, someone started off, he said, well, I've got 41 slides here, but I think I'll get through them all in 30 minutes. And they were really dense slides, lots and lots of graphs and pictures. Now, I was actually at the back of the room, and these glasses are not quite what they should be. I need new lenses. I couldn't read any of the slides because they were so fine. And so that's what you've got to remember. Don't dump lots of data on people. You have to distill the meaning into a small number of points. The third point about communication is it's just as much about listening as it is about telling things. And the biggest communication problems I come across in organisations are actually failures of listening rather than failures of outward communication, particularly the inability or unwillingness of senior management to listen to what other people are actually telling them. And the fourth point is that, if a communication is going to be effective, if you're actually going to get someone to do something or stop doing something or do something differently, there's got to be some sort of emotional connection in it. And so if you think about all those 4 points, there's no obvious reason why technology would make any of those easier. There are certainly ways you can use it to make it easier. There's certainly ways you can use it to make it an awful lot worse. So I think that's what you've got to watch. The principles remain the same. The tools could help or could hinder.
Do you think that in general, companies are now communicating better with their customers?
In general, I would say no. And I think there are examples of excellent communication and there are examples of awful communication. If you think about two examples, perhaps, of companies who've used technology to change the way they communicate with customers. One is absolutely fantastic, the other is completely abysmal, awful. The fantastic one, I would say, is Amazon. Think about Amazon, you always know where you are. You order something, you get a confirmation. As soon as it's been sent, you get another confirmation. So you always feel exactly, you know exactly where you are, you know exactly what's happening, when your thing's going to turn up, which anyone could do, but most people don't. The other thing about Amazon is they are, in a sense, listening to you because they're looking at the things you've bought in the past and suggesting, well, based on that, there are other things you might like. I think that's very effective communication. It certainly resulted in me buying quite a lot more books than I otherwise would. Or things like, other people who bought this also buy that. What do you think? That's really good because, again, they're using the opportunity of having you on this wonderful technological platform where they don't just know what you buy, they know everything you've ever looked at to tell you useful things. I think it's great because if I want books on a particular subject, it will suggest books I've never heard of and I'll buy them. So it's good for them as well. So that works really well. Because what they've done is they've built this amazing computerized voicemail maze which seems to be designed to prevent you ever from getting to talk to a real person who could actually answer your question or solve your problem. So you go through, push one for click, dial 1 for this, dial 2 for this, dial 3 for that. Neither option seems to answer my question, so what do I do? Sometimes I arrived at points where literally my options were to hear the message again, which was no use, or hang up. There are some points where if you just don't do anything and hang on the line, you will actually get to talk to a human being. But it takes you a while, many minutes on the phone, repeated attempts to find out where those are. And so I don't really know what they're trying to do. They've obviously put an emphasis on efficiency. But in the process, they've actually made themselves almost impossible to deal with.